Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Philadelphia IFT Winter Webinar Series. Today, we will be hearing from Susie Badaracco, President of Culinary Tides, and her presentation will be on the Ozempic revolution, how obesity drugs are redefining consumer food behaviors. Susie, I will turn this over to you.
Okay, perfect. So first, we're going to start a little bit with who we are and what we do. We are actually a fractional foresight team. So we're a fractional trends foresight team and trends intelligence. So instead of a big data house, we actually work one-on-one with our clients on long-term contracts. So we're whispering in their ears all throughout the year. So a couple of the differences between how we do our work and other forecasters you probably know and love. First, the background for us is military intelligence and chaos theory. So other forecasters, what they do is they tend to focus on like new product launches. They might watch product sales. They also do amazing consumer surveys. My background is a little bit different. So 1,000 years ago, I started out as a criminalist. So I did crime scenes. I was a drug toxicologist, tracked pattern crimes like serial killers. I trained with FBI in LA. I also trained with Scotland Yard in London when I was 19 for serial killers specifically. So when I stopped stepping over dead bodies, I naturally went to culinary school. So I am a certified chef. And working in the industry, I went back again, and my master's is in human nutrition. So I am a registered dietitian as well, which is why I get to talk about this topic so often. So the difference of what regular forecasters do and what we do, we also watch new product launches, product sales, consumer surveys, except we're watching everybody's, right? So we're watching dozens and dozens a day. To do our work, which is the military intelligence and chaos analytics, we have to look at a much bigger scope of reports and news items. So on average, to do our work, we have to review around 17,600 research reports and news items a week in a 5-day work week. So we're dealing with mass amounts of data compared to other forecasters that are looking through a much more narrow lens. So because of our background in our work, we're also tracking behavioral research. We do competitor intelligence for all our clients. We're tracking technologies being born daily across the world. We track all clinical health research worldwide. We're also the only ones that track government regulations worldwide affecting the food industry. We watch courier industries. These are industries that bump up against the food industry, like pharmaceutical, supplements, travel industry. And we're also the only ones who track all economic research. So we're tracking e-com, food service numbers, retail numbers, and then consumers' reaction to economic numbers. So first, we're going to start with talking a little bit about GLP, how it started, and what some of the health impacts are that you may not be aware of. So some of the key brands you may have heard of is the semaglutide class. There's the liraglutide class, the exendotides, the dulaglutides, and the tirapisides. You've probably heard of the semaglutides and tirapisides the most, but these are the kind of class of drugs. They're all within the same family, but they work just a little bit differently, and how you take them might be a little bit different. By the way, happy to share these slides with you. And so at the end of the presentation, there is going to be a QR code. The QR code will get you the slides, but it's also going to get you a sample deck of our yearly report that's going to be coming out within a few weeks. So we will get you both decks absolutely for free. So back to GLP-1 drugs. What are they? How do they work? So just so we understand, because then we have to go into like why this is important. Okay, so in the body, there's a glucagon hormone. What this hormone does is it raises blood sugar and it stimulates the hormone ghrelin, and ghrelin is what causes you to feel hungry. There's a GLP-1 hormone in your body, and what its job is it lowers blood sugar by increasing insulin secretion, and it decreases glucagon. So what the GLP-1s are doing is they're mimicking the body's GLP-1 hormone, which shuts down hunger because it shuts down glucagon. This little picture of what it does. So GLP-1 and our little hormone, naturally, it increases satiety, it decreases appetite. It also slows the stomach down. That's what gastric motility is. And it also slows down the emptying, so you feel full longer. And with the pancreas, it's pumping out more insulin and it decreases your glucagon. So the benefits you may have heard of, it does have ties to reduced risk of dementia, reduced risk of heart attack and stroke, obviously weight loss, which is why so many non-diabetics actually want to be on this drug. It lowers risk of alcohol use disorder because it lowers the urgency to drink alcohol, and then anti-inflammatory benefits. But the risks you may not know about as much. So among the top ones, increased risk of gallbladder issues and having your gallbladder removed, increased risk of pancreatitis or having your pancreas removed. So if you have your pancreas removed or it's damaged significantly from the drug, you are now a type 1 diabetic. That's it. You've completely crossed over. It can also increase suicidal thoughts. The black box warning from FDA just got rescinded from this, but it still does this cause anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts. Aspiration risk under anesthesia means you could accidentally drown while you're in surgery if you're on this drug. Acute kidney injury, fatigue, low blood sugar, because again, you're pumping out insulin, headache, dizziness, heart rate increase. One of the big ones is loss of muscle mass, which we're going to get into in a little bit. Its name is sarcopenia, but you lose muscle mass when you're on this drug. GI issues are a big thing. Nausea, vomiting, thyroid tumors are not uncommon. It can cause you to go blind. That's the ophthalmic complications. So it can cause blindness or damage to the eyes. And the other big one is gastroparesis. That means frozen gut. Since it slows down gut motility, it can, if you eat something, the food has nowhere to go. So you get a gut blockage. I will tell you the newest risk that's been revealed in studies now this month is hair loss. So within about 3 to 4 months, you can start losing hair loss or losing your hair. If you don't stop the drug, the hair loss becomes permanent. If you stop the drug, as soon as your hair starts falling out, the scalp can recover. But that's the newest warning out on the drugs. There is one case right now of death. This was actually a UK nurse, and she died, I think, within 48 hours of taking tirapazide, and it was septic shock, pancreatitis, and multiple organ failure all happened simultaneously. And even though she was in the hospital setting, there was nothing they could do for her. So what is new, and this is always changing, the pipelines from Eli Lilly, a new set of drugs coming out. Amgen also has one more drug coming out. Novo Nordisk also has 2 more drugs coming out. And you may have heard January, this last month, the first pill form of the drug has been launched. So it's going to be a significant cost reduction, but it's going to be the same side effects. So the only thing about it is it's easier because it's a pill, and it will be cheaper, but it doesn't change the side effects. So we're going to look at consumer spending behavior, which I'm sure you've also heard about, but you probably didn't hear the full story. So you probably have heard some of these studies like grocery Doppio, 11% average decrease in food spending. Cornell also found that spending drops within 6 months. IFIC also reports this. Circana reported, decrease in convenience mass grocery stores and natural food stores. But what you haven't heard is the other side of the story. Circana also found what they're doing is they're just buying food in other locations. So actually, their purchasing has not decreased because really they're just switching over to other avenues to get food. So when you look across the 2 studies, it averages out that it's really not reversing. Cornell also found that if there is a spending drop, all of that reverses after 6 months on the drug. So either the body adjusts to the drug and you just start eating more, so you're buying more food, or in 6 months you learn to ignore the effect of the drug and then you start eating more and buying more food. Either way, the reverse happens in about 6 months. So some of the reported category declines. Category declines in salty snacks, baked goods, and sweets. Again, your appetite has gone down. You also have less tolerance for kind of heavier, saltier, fatty foods. But there is an increase in whole grains, protein, and produce reported. Two things to keep in mind about GLP-1 drugs. Number one, it does not suddenly cause consumers to eat healthier, right? Unless they're under the care of a dietitian, they are going to eat the same way they did. They're just going to eat less of whatever it was that got them into trouble in the first place with wanting to go onto this drug. The second thing is the motivation to lose weight. So they're going on the drug, very motivated to lose weight. Research has found it's a temporary motivation, which is why, in part, they go off the drug, rebound weight gain comes back on. So this motivation, majority of the time, is just temporary. Motivation goes away. So some of the current use, future demand, and dropout rates you also might not know of. Current use, only about 6% of US is on GLP-1s. This is out of Kaiser. There is recent research showing, I believe it's Gallup, that said, oh no, it's 12%. But that's actually not accurate because their survey, how they came to that number is a survey, right? When we're looking at Kaiser and CDC and Haynes studies, you're looking at actual medical records. So the true number is only 6%. So future demand, about 35% say they're interested in trying to go on these drugs. But the dropout rates are pretty astronomical. They're higher than any other diet that has ever been studied. Dropout rates for GLP-1 drug use is 53.6% within 1 year of starting the drug. That's out of Pennsylvania. Within 2 years, dropout rate climbs to 75% of this drug. So that 6% we're talking about is a revolving 6%, right? Because people are going off this drug, others are coming onto this drug. If someone goes off the drug and then decides to go back on the drug, they will quit it again for the same reasons they stopped it the first time. The drug, remember, is made for diabetics. It's not made for people trying to lose weight. So diabetics are the key target for this drug class, and they're the ones that are anticipated to be on it for the rest of their lives. So GLP-1s are not a drug to lose weight, get off of it, and then maintain that weight loss. The drug is actually designed to, you have to be on it for life to be able to maintain the results. So only 6% plan to stay on it for life, and that is really primarily diabetics who actually have the benefits from the drug because of the insulin effect. So the key drivers of why do they get off the drug? Usually it's the GI side effects. It might be the cost. It might be their income level is actually very telling. The lower income level they are, the more likely they are to get off, to quit the drug. So the big question is, has GLP rates ever reduced, obesity rates? Has GLP-1 being introduced? The answer is absolutely not. So current obesity rates in the country are 40%. This again is CDC and Haynes. They are the kind of the mothership of getting this research because they actually can look at medical records. I will tell you the most recent report should have been out 2025, but because of CDC's relationship with the current administration, they were not able to get out the 2025 report. So they are now announcing they're getting it out in 2026. So we will have the newest numbers. But these drugs, you may be surprised, this whole class of drugs was actually approved in 2013. That's why I'm listing 2013 here. So the class came in at 2013. From 2013 through 2023, in the most recent research we have, there's absolutely no effect to obesity rate with this drug. The obesity rates are still over 40% in the country. In fact, severe obesity has climbed 7 to almost 10% in the country. So it has not affected obesity rates whatsoever, but we are very excited to wait for the CDC and Haynes report that should be coming out later in 2026. Highest obesity groups are the adults 40 to 59 years old and those with lower education. And remember, lower education, lower income rates, those are one of the predictors for stopping the drug, for getting off of this drug. new study also just came out saying that the rebound weight gain when you stop this drug is higher than any other diet ever recorded also. You'll gain back almost 2 pounds a month, even if you're, very consistent with your diet, etc., because your body feels like it's been in the starvation state for however long you were on the diet, right? So once you get off it, the body does everything it can to reset itself to whatever level it was at before. So rebound weight gain is very high. So from hype to habit, understanding the health drivers that stick. The health goals for 2026 are really focused on a holistic approach, balanced well-being. They're drawn to brands that share relatable stories, values. They like origin stories with their food choices. So you want to look at the poster children of what you're offering or producing. So are you also tying your foods into, can you say it's seasonal or local? That has a health halo for consumers. Is it sensible indulgences, or on social media, are you tapping into some of the food tribes? Is the deck have recognizable ingredients, whole ingredients? Are there functional elements that you're able to call out? Or is it also part of conveniently nutritious, like on-the-go lifestyle? These are some of the achievable goals they want. What they don't want is something that limits what they're having. So we're going to do a fun little quiz. I'm going to pull all these little guys up. So nutritious meets delicious, unlocking GLP-1 supportive meal benefits. So nutrient sources. So if one of these is your goals, right, with whatever products you're producing. So let's say your aim for the foods are convenience and balanced, or maybe you're promoting fresh fruits, less processed, or what you're offering is salty or sweet snack alternates, or even some of the global flavors, international offerings. Here's what the actual health benefit is tied to that. We're going to do satiety, nutrient density, protein and complex carbs, diversity, and then lower sugar, salt, and fat. So let's start with the first one. Just in your heads, convenient balanced meals, which ones on the right side do you think that taps into? And what that does is it taps into satiety. You're offering protein plus complex carbs because it's balanced, and also nutrient diversity in that meal. If you're promoting fresh food, now you've got nutrient density, but also the lower sugar, salt, and fat. And then if you're looking at the salty sweet alternates, now you're tapping into satiety, nutrient diversity, and lower sugar, salt, fat. And any of the global flavors, global foods, now you're increasing nutrient diversity for that customer. So trends have allies, just like a corporation can have allies, you and I can have allies, we can also have adversaries. So GLP-1 meals actually have allies. These are things you want to incorporate into a GLP-1 meal or meal plan. Fresh fruits, vegetables, cheeses, grains, and global spices. But why? Why for fresh fruit? Because you're adding natural sweetness. Because remember, diabetics are on this drug as well. But also vibrant colors, so you're eating with your eyes, antioxidants, hydration, fiber. Vegetables, now here comes like a savory element. You're definitely enhancing nutrient density and fiber. Cheese, you think of richness, but you're also adding texture, you're adding rich flavors, but above all, you're providing protein and calcium. And then whole grains, you're adding texture, fiber for sure, nutrient content, and then this is automatically appealing to any of the health conscious consumers. And with global seasonings, you're adding that global little twist. You're introducing unique flavor profiles, which is a draw, and creating a little sensory adventures, which is what they want. So 5 things to do to support the GLP-1 drug user. First one is you want to create high protein muscle supporting products. And why that is because muscle loss is a critical concern, and protein was cited as the top priority by GLP-1 users. So what you may not know is when you're on this class of drugs, 40% of your weight loss is muscle loss, not fat. That is not normal for a normal diet. If you're just on like Weight Watchers or some other diet, you are not, every pound you lose, 40% of that is not muscle. It is primarily fat. The drugs actually tap into the muscle as well as the fat when it's making you lose weight. So that's why you get what they call the Ozempic face, right? So you have that gaunt face you've seen in Hollywood stars. That's why you're losing muscle, a huge amount of muscle when you're on this drug. So foods that are high in protein, and you have to have a complete protein, helps preserve this muscle mass that they're constantly losing. And it's critical for their heart health as well, because again, heart is a muscle. So this could be damaging the heart. So what you want to focus on is portable protein snacks, meal replacements, functional beverages with protein, lean protein entrees. The next one is offering smaller portion sizes because, again, remember your gut's not moving and you have decreased appetite. So nearly half of the GLP-1 users report eating smaller portions, so they're preferring foods that are nutrient dense. So GLP-1 users also experience reduced appetite, so that's why they're preferring the smaller portions. However, they still want enjoyable, flavorful options. Also, one thing to note, with GLP-1 drugs, you don't taste the food as well as you do without being on the drug. So you may have heard people say things like, oh, I'm just not enjoying food as much. It's because literally in their mouth, they're not able to perceive the flavors as strong as they would without the drug. So that's why the flavor palette is very important for them. So this translates into mini meals, small indulgences, balanced meals with protein, fiber, and healthy fats. Third one is focus on gut health because, again, that gut stall. So GI discomfort is the #1 reason people quit this drug. So it ranks the highest when you do surveys with them. So they're suffering from gastrointestinal, all the side effects, nausea, reflux, constipation, frozen gut also. So the functional ingredients that they need are things like prebiotics, probiotics, and fiber blends. And just so we're all on the same page, you know that probiotics are the healthy gut bacteria, right? Prebiotics are a class of fibers that are the food for the bacteria. So if you want to have healthy probiotics in the gut, don't eat probiotics, eat prebiotics, and that naturally sets up healthy probiotics to then grow and flourish. So here you can look at the beverages, gut-friendly snacks, meal solutions with gut health claims. #4, hydration and electrolyte support. This is one that not many people think about. 44% feel less hydrated because not only are they not getting the hunger signal, they're not getting the signal to drink either. So they are dehydrated. So they're reporting thirst, they're struggling to stay hydrated. So products that enhance any kind of hydration or replenish electrolytes, that is absolutely in demand. So you're wanting to focus on electrolyte enhanced waters, functional beverages, even hydration powders. And the 5th one is overall support for long-term health beyond weight loss. So many GLP-1 users focus on holistic health, like I said earlier, not just weight loss. So they're thinking more about long-term health. They want foods that support heart health, metabolic health, cognitive function also. So things that reduce inflammation, improve blood pressure, and support brain health actually resonate with them. So foods that are focused more with omega-3s, antioxidants, fiber, even functional botanicals is a broader way to think about how to approach foods that are trying to support the 6% that are on these drugs. So top ingredients needed for GLP-1 users. And again, happy to share these slides. So protein for muscle preservation. So again, it could be collagen, egg whites, high protein blends, pea, any kind of other animal protein. Up to 40% of the weight loss, remember, is from muscle weight loss. So you're losing 40% of your muscle with every pound you lose on this drug. Fiber. So again, prebiotic fibers, oat fibers, chicory, because you're trying to support the digestion because of the gut is not operating as it normally does. Electrolytes for hydration. So again, 44% feel less hydrated. So hydration is key. This is where beverage companies can come into this story. Healthy fats for satiety, but also brain health. So avocado oil, MCT, nuts and seeds. You're supporting the brain health, but we're also reducing inflammation. And then micronutrients for metabolic and bone health, vitamin D, calcium, magnesium, B12, zinc. So this is the long-term use can affect bone health. So that's the other set of studies that have come out. This drug can affect bone health. And so you're also trying to support nutrient absorption when they're on this drug. So some of the top product formats to kind of think about prioritizing. High protein snacks, any form will do, bars, bites, puffs. Functional beverages, so protein shakes, hydration drinks. Frozen or fresh meals, so deli can get in on this. Restaurants, obviously, protein, veggies, and definitely don't forget grains. Sweet treats. So sweets are not, again, unless they're the diabetic class, if they're the weight loss class, they can still have sweet treats. It just has to be portion controlled. And then don't forget about functional condiments and even dressings, sauces, things like this. You can add protein, you can add fiber. So one thing I'd like to mention is companies that are trying to create products and then label them GLP-1. By the way, there is no sanctioned labeling. So, and right now there's over 4,000 lawsuits against the drug manufacturers themselves because of the side effects of this drug. So there are thousands of lawsuits right now against this drug and what this drug is doing to the body. So labeling these foods, it does a couple things. One, it isolates the consumer, and research with diabetics as a group show they don't want to have something on their packaged food that they're taking into work, for example, to announce to everybody that they're either taking this drug or wanting to take this drug, right? It invites people asking you questions about your business that you don't necessarily want. So they don't really want to call it out on their food packaging that they're either on this drug or wanting to mimic, being on this drug by eating this food. So it's socially and psychologically isolating. Also, if you're labeling the food and you have a family, you're taking it home, now you're isolated from your own family, right? Unless you're feeding them all this food the same way, you're eating one thing, the family's eating something else. So, plus you're only talking about 6% of the population. And this is a revolving set of the population. So think about it this way too. If I'm on the drug, I go off the drug because of the side effects. I may not be attracted to foods that are labeled for the drug I just got off of, right? Because I had a bad experience with it. So what I want to encourage you to think is GLP-1 targeted foods, absolutely good intent, but absolutely misses the bigger picture here for what's going on in our country. There's a wider audience that can benefit from a GLP-1 style diet. And a GLP-1 style diet is essentially a diabetic diet, which is 26 million in this country. That's who you really want to kind of aim for, right? Because that's what the diet plan is. It's a diabetic diet. That's what this drug originally is for. So here's a new way to think about the foods you're producing to not only support GLP-1 users, but a much bigger picture. Because that same diet style, here's what it supports. It supports strong start mornings, right? These are morning commuters, busy parents, students, and young professionals, right? Trying to get their day off to a good start. So they're looking for breakfast wraps and handhelds that are high protein, protein forward sandwiches, breakfast bowls. Their consumption style is like they want foods that are eating on the go, one-handed, even they can eat in the car. The second group that this style of diet, these foods that are being produced can benefit is those who want to kind of power through that midday slump. Now you're talking about office workers, students who are studying, drivers, and even delivery workers. And what they're looking for is fresh wraps or paninis, grain or protein bowls, snack boxes even that they can take with them, either in the car or to work. Consumption style here is quick break eating, desk-friendly meals. But they don't need it labeled GLP. They just need the formula that it's GLP-1 friendly. Pre and post workout. So now you've got your fitness enthusiasts, your active adults. You could have protein snack packs, lean protein bowls, wrap halves or mini bowls. And what they're looking for is fast digesting, and which is what GLP-1 needs, portable, travels well. You could be weight management who are not on this drug, right? Health focus, diet goals, or they just might be mindful eaters, right? So portion control bowls, mini salads, half sandwiches, or wraps. And consumption style is they're looking for portion control. They're also looking for flexible meal replacements. And the last two are those looking for stress relief, right? Stressed out professionals or students, overextended parents, burnt out workers. Now they're looking for familiar or global handhelds, grain-based bowls, balanced snack packs. They want no mess, easy cleanup, slow grounding bites. And the last group is after school fuel, right? School age kids, teen athletes, family caregivers. So now you're going to want snack packs, protein plus carbs, mini sandwiches and sliders, shareable family packs. This is so they can eat now in the car or shareable, and it's family friendly. So also think about this. A busy parent out of the first group, strong start, later in the day could become the post-workout person. Or later in the day could be the after school fuel person, right? So this is not one consumer. A consumer can hit any one of these 6 groupings. All of them can benefit from the GLP-1 style diet that the GLP-1 drug users actually are following. So navigating the future. Remember, GLP-1 drugs do not suddenly make someone know how to eat healthy, right? They're just eating less, but they're not eating healthy. The ones who are motivated, the motivation fades and their habits revert in about 6 months. Unless they're working with a dietitian, they are not understanding how to eat healthier. Dropout rates are high. Remember, 53% quit within the first year, 75% in 2 years. Digestion comfort is key. That gut healthy friendly foods, they're in demand. Also high protein because of the huge muscle loss associated with the drug. Portion sizes matter. Small, high protein meals align with the user's needs. And don't pigeonhole your offerings by labeling everything GLP-1 friendly. It's only 6% of the population. Widen your lens to who else could you offer this meal style to? And from us, know the birth and life cycle of a trend prior to deciding to enter it or recommend it so you can predict how to navigate it. And also spend more time researching a trend's longevity and trajectory than worrying about what your competitors are doing. After all, they may be idiots. And here is that QR code. So the QR code will absolutely get you the slide deck. And it will also get you the sample deck of our yearly trends report that is going to be coming out in just a few weeks here, along with a video for how to utilize that report. So that is all free, and it's just for anybody who attends webinars and conferences we go to. So I am absolutely ready for questions if anyone has any questions.
Thank you so much, Susie, for that wonderful presentation and very insightful presentation. If anyone has questions, you can ask them in the chat box or in the Q&A box that you should all have on your Zoom screen at the bottom on the ribbon.
There is somebody in the chat.
Okay, we have a question on the Q&A box. Do you see it or?
No, go ahead.
Okay, do you think GLP-like drug base will continue to grow?
Do you mean the drugs themselves, or who is the number of people on the drugs? Do you think that they mean the number of people on the drugs?
I think they're thinking the number of people on the drug because it says, do you think GLP-like drug base will continue to grow? Oh, she said both, actually.
So,
Okay.
so both actually. The class of drugs is going to keep growing because what they're trying to do with so one is going into pill form, so it's cheaper, easier to take. So I think there will be a growth in who is on the drug, who is, who goes onto drug, but it doesn't change the dropout rates. The dropouts rates are still astronomical. So there may be more people that go on it and then go off of it. And that's why that 6% right now is the best number we have, who only about 6% are going to be able to tolerate it for life, which is, again, that's how the drug is designed, to be on it for life, because it's for diabetics to control blood sugar. That 6% is most likely diabetics who are on it and can tolerate the side effects. So there may be definitely more people going on to the drug, but those same people are going to go off the drug. So this is there. I'll put it this way: there has never been a weight loss drug in the history of our country that has ever affected the obesity rates in the country. And this one is no different because the side effects are even worse than any other weight loss drug we've ever seen. So that's why the dropout rates are so high.
Okay, the next question is, what about implications for animal diets?
Oh, God, I hope they don't put animals on this. That's horrifying. Can you imagine thyroid tumors, frozen gut? Um, I am sure someone will try to think of it, but an animal system is not the same. The hormonal system is not necessarily the same as a human system. So I would not be surprised if this moves into the veterinarian circles, but I wouldn't want to be that pet parent that does this to the animal. But I'll bet it happens, but I wouldn't subject even a person to the side effects of the drugs.
Okay,
But
we
please,
have another question here. Oh, I'm sorry, was that done?
yep, go ahead.
Okay. What about the growing number of products that claim to boost the body's own GLP-1? So it's not for users, but a natural way to increase your body's own hormones. Lots of new innovations in this category. Do you want me to repeat that or
Yeah, no, I'm thinking about that. So I have not seen any actual, like, your university grade peer reviewed research that any of that works. I absolutely have no doubt there's companies selling and promoting products that have that claim. Um, but I'm trying to think, we have not come across any research that actually supports that claim, because again, what you're dealing with is you're dealing with disrupting several hormonal systems in the body. So I would love to see that. If whoever's asking, I would love to see research. If you've actually come across research of proving that any ingredient can do that. But again, your foods don't generally, even herbs, spices, they don't generally disrupt entire hormonal systems in the body, which is what you're talking about if you're trying to boost GLP-1 in the body. So that's why I've never seen research, but I would love to see it if you have it.
okay, next question. Um, Can building in weightlifting exercise complement the need for added protein? Will this offset needing more protein or enhance muscle loss, knowing that most consumers want an easy way to reduce muscle loss? Hmm.
If you're okay, um, that's a multiple part question actually. So, okay, if you're on the drug, you are going to be losing, every pound you lose in weight is 40% of that's muscle. So you are absolutely losing muscle. If you start going to the gym, which again, part of weight loss is you should be active. Maybe you're going to the gym, maybe you're just walking the block, whatever you're doing. Um, the only way to gain muscle is to repair the muscle you're working, at the gym. So that alone, you have to increase your protein intake just because you've increased your activity. So you don't magically build protein in the body, right, by working out. You have to put protein into the diet. So The drug causes you to need a lot more protein. If you put on top of that, you are going to the gym, you're working out more because you want weight loss, you are now even further increasing the protein need to, one, build muscle and counteract the loss you're getting from the drugs. So it's even more critical if you're going to the gym and everything, because otherwise you're just going to keep losing muscle if you're not replacing it in the diet, because the drug is forcing your body to excrete and break down muscle. So that's why protein even more critical. Working out at the gym is not going to replace muscle. You're just going to break it down. Your body's going to eliminate it. You have to replace it in the diet for the body to have the building blocks of the amino acids to rebuild what you've just worked out at the gym. Does that make sense?
Okay. Next question. Are your recommendations any different for those that are diabetics that may stay on for longer time?
No, I mean, the whole class is made for diabetics. The only thing that's different with diabetics is they obviously have to avoid sugar, right? So that's the one thing they're specifically avoiding. So let's say you're not diabetic, but you go on this class of drugs. If you do eat something sweet, it's not going to harm you, right? Because you're not a diabetic. So the only difference is this is essentially a diabetic diet, is what a GLP-1 diet is. The only difference is that actual diabetics actually do have to specifically avoid sweets. Whereas if you're not diabetic, it could be, you could still intake sweet things, but in very small amounts, to make sure that it's not contributing to, weight gain or harming the weight loss goal. But essentially this thing is a diabetic diet. Diabetic diets are basically, eat everything in moderation. That's what a diabetic diet is. With GLP-1, it just forces more protein into the diet because the drug causes protein loss. That's the one big difference.
We have one more question. Since you are losing protein, does this help with renal patients? RENAL. I think I
Does
said
it
that right.
help? No, it hurts. Oh my gosh, no, it causes kidney damage. Kidneys do not like to filter protein. It causes kidney damage, which is in one of the first slides. So it's very dangerous to go on this drug if you are a kidney patient. That hopefully if your doctor's smart and they know they will prevent you from going on this drug, because it absolutely can shut down your kidneys. Because your kidneys are not built to process protein. Normally you don't urinate out, you don't pee out protein, but this drug causes you to do that. So now you're causing renal failure. So absolutely, you don't want any kind of, if you're a kidney patient, the last thing you want to do is go on this class of drugs.
Okay, we have one more. Are you concerned that the widespread advertising of GLP-1 drugs may be outpacing public understanding of their risks and limitations?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Like the list I showed you in the first couple slides, most people in the food industry don't know what the risks are. They don't know that it's thyroid tumors and gut paresis and protein loss. Like they don't know, even in our own industry. It's really only dietitians around the country that really have a good understanding of what this class of drugs does, because they've been looking at it since 2013. So absolutely nobody's talking about, like, industry's certainly not saying, oh, and by the way, you might have these side effects, but because they want, they're advertising the drug. But one thing I'll point out is, so Weight Watchers in particular is, now they're working with patients on this drug. And if you listen to Weight Watchers TV commercials really carefully, you'll hear them kind of slip into their speak, oh, and we help you with side effects. They absolutely slip that in on purpose in the TV commercials because they understand the huge amount of side effects this drug causes. They're the only ones saying out loud that, and we'll help you manage the side effects, because they understand how detrimental they can be, and they cause people to go off the class of drugs. So yeah, consumers have no idea what these side effects are because pharmaceutical companies are not going to promote that, right? They wouldn't sell the drug.
Okay, I think that was the last question. I don't see any other questions in the chat box, nor do I see any other questions and answers. I mean, any questions in the box. Are there any other questions that any of you might have? I know we went over a few minutes. If not, okay. Thank you so much, Susie. It was a wonderful, insightful presentation. I will have this recording on our YouTube channel. It's the Philadelphia Institute of Food Technology YouTube channel. And at that point, if anybody does want the slides, please scan this QR code and you can receive a copy of Susie's slides along with a another document that she is willing to give you. And what is that document again, Susie?
It's a sample deck from our yearly trends report, 2026-27 trends report. So yeah, we're absolutely giving that to anybody who wants the slides from this presentation. We're giving that for free, and that report's going to be coming out in a couple weeks. So we're going to send you this slide deck immediately, and then when a couple weeks, when the big report comes out, you'll get a second deck.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. We will stop sharing the screen and end this webinar. Thank you.